Welcome to another episode of the Press Box. I'm Greg Waddell, and this is my associate Ricky Martin, and we're going to be discussing a couple of the key issues this week in the wild world of sports. Up first on the table is Ben Roethlisberger, who was suspended by the NFL for 6 games today for some off the field issues. Ricky, what do you think about that?
I think that Ben Roethlisberger is a very talented quarterback. And one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, actually, 2-time MVP. He was a member of the great 2004 class that saw Larry Fitzgerald, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, a lot of good players. But since draft day, Ben Roethlisberger has just made bad decision after bad decision, and it starts with the fact of him just being a risk taker on the field. He always takes risks. He scrambles around. He gets sacked. Led the league in sacks the last 4 years. And go back to the motorcycle accident. Riding a motorcycle, not wearing a helmet. Worth multi-million dollars to the Pittsburgh Steelers, their franchise player, their quarterback. What is he doing on a motorcycle without a helmet? I wish he maybe could have hit his head a little harder. It would have knocked some sense into him because this is just getting ridiculous. It seems like every year there's something with this guy. The appendectomy, not his fault, but still. The thing with Ben Roethlisberger, though, is he always finds a way to win, and I expect even after the 6-game suspension, if it ends up holding up that long, he'll come back and the Steelers will still have a shot at the playoffs.
How do you feel about that? There's some rumors flying around that he might get traded, possibly to the Raiders.
I don't really think he's going to get traded. I think that would be the worst thing for Pittsburgh. Who does Pittsburgh want from the Raiders? I don't think Murray State wants anybody from the Raiders. So, I don't know who Pittsburgh would want. They're not going to get Jamarcus Russell. They're going to get a draft pick, but they're not going to get anybody out of that draft.
Why would they want Russell to begin with?
That's what I'm saying. The Raiders have no one to offer anybody.
He's an $80 million backup.
Yeah, so, him going to the Raiders is out of the question. I know that the Pittsburgh Steelers had supposedly contacted the Rams. The Rams said they were going to hold on to their pick. They're probably looking at getting Ndamukong Suh in the second pick, should Sam Bradford go off the board for the first pick. But I think Ben Roethlisberger, it's best for him and for the Steelers if he stays in Pittsburgh, sit out the suspension, sit your games, come back in 6 games later. And the one thing I do want to point out, though, is the Steelers have 6 televised games this season, the first one being Week 7. You think the NFL had a little something to do or a little knowledge about when he was going to be coming back? So their first national televised game is Big Ben's first game back. Speaking of the NFL and the draft, one of Murray State's own entering the draft this weekend, projected to go high. That's defensive end Austin Lane. What are your thoughts?
I think it's great for the program. I think Austin Lane had a heck of a career here. Right now he's projected to go to the 88th overall pick to the Cardinals. I don't know much about the Cardinals' defensive line situation, but I think anywhere he goes, it will be awesome. What do you think about that?
Yeah, he's, from what I've read, a lot of the scouts, people forget that when Austin Lane stepped here on campus in Murray 4 years ago, he only weighed 220. He's gained 50 pounds since he's been here, and that's been one of the things that's really raised his draft stock. And another thing is his pass rushing abilities as a pass blocker are very, very good and advanced for someone his age about to enter the draft. His pass rush skills are something that are going to be utilized heavily in whatever system he goes to. The only thing that he's going to have to work on is his run defense, and that's going to be a size thing and it's going to be a quickness thing. He ran a 4.8 40, so he definitely has wheels. He has a motor. You never see him take a play off, and it's nice that after the tumultuous 4 years that we've had here at Murray State, Austin Lane is the one bright spot here for Murray State.
And you do hear a lot about he has a great body style to play in the NFL defensive end. Mm-hmm. He's got long arms. He's tall. He's quick. He's not going to bull past you, but he can be one of those guys like Dwight Freeney that can just get a great burst off the end. But going into the next piece, we're going to talk a little about Murray State's football team and the spring game they just had. What do you think about that, Ricky?
Well, yeah, I was there for the paper covering the game, taking some pictures. And we got to see the first string offense and defense play against one another. And, of course, Jeff Earhart was at the helm of that. A lot of people weren't sure, was Earhart going to come out of the spring as the number one quarterback. Of course, you got freshman Casey Brockman waiting in the wings, so to speak. But so far it looks like Coach Hatcher is committed to that hatch attack style offense. He's going to go with the 5 receivers a lot. You're going to see a lot of passing, ran the ball, just a few times in the second quarter. But Prince had some good rushes. It looks like this offense, whether we win a lot of games or not, it looks like it's at least going to be exciting to watch, which has been different than what we've seen in the past.
One thing that scares me about this team is just the inconsistent play at quarterback. Mm-hmm. Everything starts with your QB. He's your coach on the field, and we have to have some better production from him. In the spring game, both Casey and Jeff both threw two interceptions, and you just can't do that and expect to be successful.
Yeah.
I don't know if our defense is just that much better from last year or our offense is at the same level, but we have to get better before the season starts.
Yeah, and I think Jeff will find that consistency. I think a lot of it is the change in system, and Jeff's been in the same system. People forget that he was the OVC Freshman of the Year, and so Jeff definitely has the skills necessary to compete at a high level here in the OVC. It's just going to be a matter of getting comfortable with the system, getting comfortable. He's got a lot of new receivers out there, and Marcus Harris didn't even run with the first string offense during the spring game. He was just strictly on punt returns. And so it's going to be interesting to see. But once he gets that timing, familiarity with the system, they've got the summer, to work on things before they open up games in the fall. So I think that consistency will be there by the time the Racers put on the pads for real.
Let's hope so. Jeff seems like he's a really nice guy. You want to see the best for him. But that'll be it. Thank you for checking in with us, and check on thenews.org for more stuff from the sports section. Thank you very much.